days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show, 49ers News Update episode. Lots of 49ers news, of course, coming after the Sunday night battle against the Denver Broncos. Injury updates and all kinds of other decisions, just like Lenore starting over Sammy Womack. We're going to get into all that right now. Starting off with the big news, Trent Williams got injured in the game. He got rolled up on by former teammate DJ Jones. And it turns out that Trent Williams has a high ankle sprain, in fact, which is going to keep him out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. That's not good. Of course, Kyle Shanahan, when asked if they were going to put Trent Williams on the injured reserve, they're going to try to refrain from doing so. They're only allowed to put so many guys on the IR and bring them back. They're trying not to use those spots. Also not trying to use that spot with Tyrion Davis-Price either. That's why him and Tyler Kroft still haven't went on the IR, and I don't expect them to, because you need to make sure that you can continue to bring players back if necessary. You have Elijah Mitchell on the long-term IR. Hopefully he comes back after his 8 weeks are up. But the 49ers are going to have some decisions to make at left tackle. It appears that Kyle Shanahan knows which way he wants to go. But with Trent Williams being out, there's a tremendous hole and void at the left tackle spot, a place you didn't expect to have a player come in right away. Now, it's normal for Trent Williams to miss a couple games here and there, but 4 to 6 weeks is a big undertaking for this 49ers offensive line. Chris Forrester is going to have to do a really good job. Jalen Moore didn't prove to be the answer in his 7 snaps that he got against the Denver Broncos. Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb were absolutely difficult for him. So the 49ers went to a different guy, and that guy is tackle Colton McKivitz. Now, Colton McKivitz is a player that has a lot of experience, but it was just last year the 49ers went ahead and waived him and then signed him to the practice squad. He came up. It's interesting that his start at left tackle is going to come against the Los Angeles Rams, because the last time that Colton McKivitz started a football game, it was at left tackle in place of Trent Williams against the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Championship game. So Colton McKivitz knows what he's getting himself into. Now, it could have been a little bit more difficult than that one because he was going against future Hall of Famer Von Miller, and Von Miller is absolutely fantastic. That makes it more difficult for McKivitz. But McKivitz has been dealing with an ankle injury of his own. But he went in there, and Shanahan said that right now that's what they're going to do. They're going to put Colton McKivitz in place of Trent Williams, so he's going to be the starting left tackle. So overall, this 49ers offensive line has some movement that's going on. It's definitely going to be interesting. Trent Williams replaced by Colton McKivitz. We'll see what that means throughout the week as we continue to talk about this matchup of the 49ers versus the Los Angeles Rams. Niners are a game away from tying the division. I think that's interesting. More injury news coming out of the game is that Sam linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair has a sprained MCL. Kyle Shanahan said it's very similar to the same injury that Elijah Mitchell had. Elijah Mitchell's injury has required him to be out 8 weeks. They put him on the IR. So Kyle Shanahan thinks it's going to be a similar time frame, which means Azeez Al-Shaair is not coming back for a while. That's a long time. We're talking the end of November, early December before we see Azeez Al-Shaair. 49ers are going to have to rely on other linebackers. The good news is they still have Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, who play about 70% of the snaps, 70% more snaps than Azeez Al-Shaair. Al-Shaair's out there, I believe in the first 2 weeks, it was about 19% of the time. So you have to get somebody that replaced that. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles came in and played 19 snaps during the game, and I thought he did a pretty good job. I expect him to be the guy playing in those base 4-3 sets opposite of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. So they're going to go with Flannigan-Fowles. They also have Oren Burks as well, who they brought over for Green Bay, who's a special teams ace. And that could mean we see a linebacker elevated from the practice squad. They've got some guys there. Marcelino McCrary-Ball, who a lot of people are very excited about, is down there. He could be on his way up to fill this. We'll see. But the 49ers definitely need to make a move at the linebacker spot because they're going to be without Azeez for 8 weeks. And I don't think that's what anyone wanted to hear. That's unfortunate. Azeez is a guy that's coming into a contract year. Dre Greenlaw got his extension. Azeez wants to get paid. This doesn't make it easy for Azeez to get paid out there on the open market. He's now had 2 years where he's gotten injured. That's not a good sign. So prayers up to Azeez. Hopefully Azeez will be back before we know it, and this 49ers defense can continue to plug along, because it's not easy sledding, but the defense has been playing well. More news comes out about Arik Armstead. Of course, Armstead misses the game on Sunday against the Denver Broncos. They just heard it was a foot injury. Kyle Shanahan, didn't really give a lot of information about what the foot injury was. Well, Arik Armstead has come out and clarified what that injury is, and that is plantar fasciitis, which means Arik Armstead's got something he's dealing with that's progressively gotten worse. That it's been injured since before Chicago in week 1, and that it just got worse and worse heading into Seattle. It was difficult. He tried to give it a go against Denver, went out on the field, tried to warm up, tried to get it going, and it just wasn't there. So don't know how long Arik Armstead's going to be gone, but the 49ers did free up money from Trent Williams' contract last week. They might need to find a short-term replacement for him. Rumors have been that Ndamukong Suh would be somebody the 49ers would be targeting. I don't know if that's the truth. That's just a rumor. But if Armstead is going to be out a significant amount of time, or they're worried about that, they could look to bring in another veteran defensive lineman. I thought overall their team played really well without Arik Armstead. But, how many times do you want Hassan Ridgeway or Kevin Givens to start? I think that'll be the decision. I think both guys played really well. In fact, Givens played fantastic. We'll see what the 49ers ultimately do, but looks like they could be without Armstead for a little while. Hopefully Armstead comes back feeling better than ever, and that could also explain why he wasn't as dominant as he normally is in week 1 and 2, dealing with the foot injury. He just wasn't 100%, not as fast. A lot of people talking about him not moving well when he's trying to get after different guys, Justin Fields and the other quarterbacks that he went against, like Geno. So that makes a lot of sense for the 49ers. And more injury news is now struck the offensive tight end room again. Of course, you have Tyler Kroft that's out with the MCL. You have, George Kittle had been out. They've had some injuries along this tight end room, and now Ross Dwelley's dealing with a rib injury. Now, it didn't seem to be too significant because he's considered day-to-day. So it seems like Ross Dwelley will be good to go. The 49ers, of course, have George Kittle, who came back from injury, and they still have Charlie Warner. So those are the 3 tight ends right now, as Kroft is injured and unable to perform with a knee injury. They do have Troy Fumagalli on the practice squad. They could always elevate him if Ross Dwelley is not able to go against the Rams. I have a sneaky suspicion that he's going to be able to go, and that's why he's listed as day-to-day. Then we got positive news. You got to get some positive news in there, and the positive news is Daniel Brunskill appears to be getting close to getting back. Kyle Shanahan said he expects for Daniel Brunskill to practice this week. That is good news for the 49ers. With the report from Kyle Shanahan that Colton McKivitz is going to start at left tackle, where exactly does Daniel Brunskill fit? Does he go into the center spot and take over for Jake Brendel, who has, in my opinion, played very average this year and sometimes struggled? Or does he go in there and take over for Spencer Burford, who's played very well? Of course, this game was a little bit tougher than the last 2, but he's also going against a better defensive line and a better defensive scheme overall. So I'm interested to see what the 49ers do with Daniel Brunskill. I would be surprised if they left him as just a backup, as a rotational guy. When you're missing a guy like Trent Williams and you have, mediocre play at best from Jake Brendel, you got to think Daniel Brunskill could be in line to get one of those spots and get in there and play. Now, maybe they'll ease him in because he still is coming off the hamstring injury. But Daniel Brunskill's coming at the right moment. We're getting injured. We finally suffered our first injury to the offensive line. I was hoping they were going to be able to play all 17 games together, but Trent goes down. It wasn't his fault. One of those freak injuries that happens, a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman roll up on another offensive lineman. It stinks. But these injuries happen. But Brunskill could be coming back at the right time, and that could be good news for the 49ers. We'll see if he gets out there and practices this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll see what happens. Of course, this week's going to be a little bit different with Monday Night Football against the Rams on Monday. Also, more good news for the 49ers as Kyle Shanahan talked about Jimmie Ward and Jason Verrett and said they could start practicing after this week if the 49ers feel that they are ready to do so. Of course, that doesn't mean they would be back for Carolina or Atlanta. What that means is they would open the practice window and they would have 3 weeks to be able to bring these guys back, decide where they're at. Of course, you can activate them and put them on your active roster, or you could end up putting them on IR for the rest of the year, which means they would be done. So they'll be very cautious about when they open that window, knowing that if they open the window, these guys need to be back within 3 weeks. And with so many guys kind of hovering around the IR, with TDP, Tyler Croft, Azeez Al-Shaair, Trent Williams, you got to make some decisions there. So getting these guys back would be huge for this 49ers defense because, yes, you're really good, but with these guys, you're even better. The versatility that both of them provide your football team, the veteran leadership, and the understanding of offensive concepts is through the roof. Well, I'm looking forward to getting these guys back, but I think it's good news that Kyle Shanahan's starting to talk about the fact that these guys are going to be back at some point. So a little bit of good news coming out of Santa Clara, even with all the tough news that's coming. And then Kyle Shanahan discussed Deommodore Lenore because one of the things that was clear early on in this football game is that Samuel Womack was not playing nickel corner, that it was Deommodore Lenore. Now, of course, we did see Womack. He logged 2 plays, one in which he knocked the ball out. I mean, he almost created a turnover. That's something he did all throughout the preseason. But when Kyle Shanahan was asked why they went with Deommodore Lenore, they said they just liked the way he looked in practice. They felt like he played really well in this game, and that overall he was the better player than Samuel Womack. I thought that was very interesting comments because I was wondering what, in fact, was the reason they decided to go with Deommodore Lenore over Samuel Womack, and it appears he just straight beat him out, that they were ready for Lenore. One thing I will say about Lenore is an excellent tackler. That's something he can definitely help your football team with. So he has that advantage over Samuel Womack, where Womack has the advantage. He's an absolute playmaker. He usually makes plays. He did not make any plays during the first 2 games of the season, but I thought overall he's been an exciting player. So we'll see what happens as they move forward. Lenore moves in. They've been doing some things versatility-wise, where they move Lenore to the outside and then move Emmanuel Mosley into nickel. They did that a couple of times as well. So maybe it was Lenore's versatility that actually, made him catapult over Samuel Womack. Thought that was interesting because this is something the 49ers fans have been calling for ever since Deommodore Lenore was drafted out of Oregon. Was, hey, this guy's going to be the eventual future replacement for K'Waun Williams, right? And then he never really played nickel corner. Last year, coming out of training camp for a week. This year, once there was an injury, then that's when it started happening. So Deommodore Lenore is an interesting guy. I'm curious to see what happens all throughout this week and who the 49ers decide to go with at the nickel corner spot, because this week's going to be tough because you're going against one of the NFL's best in Cooper Kupp, and he likes to line up in the nickel a lot. The 49ers are going to have to find the matchups to be able to slow down Cooper Kupp. You can't stop him, but you can slow him down. And this defense is absolutely fantastic. They've been playing really well, but they have injuries that they got to overcome. To Arik Armstead, to Azeez Al-Shaair. Those ones are going to be tough. But the 49ers still did hold the Broncos to 11 points. And on offense, they got to overcome the injury to Trent Williams, their first real injury to this offensive line. Hopefully, that's the only injury to the offensive line. But at least there are reinforcements coming as Daniel Brunskill appears to be getting healthy and ready to come back. That is good news for the 49ers. And then it's just good news when you hear that Jimmie Ward and Jason Verrett are coming back. Hopefully, at some point they will. I'm not sure they'll be coming back for week 5 or week 6. But just knowing that we're inching closer to that, I think will make people feel a lot better. So thank you guys so much for watching this 49ers news update, just bringing you up to speed on what's going on with the 49ers, what Kyle Shanahan had to say about all of these injury updates. It's one of those times where things are happening in 49ers land, but I really appreciate you all joining. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have the opportunity, like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. That means a lot when you subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it so much. I hope you guys all have a great day. Stay safe, and remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.